present Maryrose, CEO of a2ru. We are very happy to have you here, Maryrose, with us. This is supposed to be a quite intimate meeting so that we can all present ourselves and listen to your presentation and then engage in a conversation that will allow us, first of all, to hear firsthand the experience of other universities, and also you will be able to listen to our cries and tears and problems in all what it, as arts administrators and faculty administrators in this university, what's our experience, where are our difficulties. And so I would let everybody present him or herself. We are 13 people. We can do it very quickly. Just name and post and position so that Maryrose has a clear understanding of who we are. And then we'll leave Maryrose to present herself and her presentation. So please, I will start, like the clockwise with me. Yasna, please.
Hello, everybody. You want me to present you or myself?
No, yourself.
Oh, okay. Sorry. First of all, I would like to say something in Spanish. Si lo necesitan, profesores, tenemos traducción simultánea. Para eso deben hacer clic en la opción interpretación y luego en la opción español. Well, my name is Yasna. I think I know all of you, and we have had some meetings. I'm Arts and Culture Coordinator of the Arts and Culture Office, and I'm in charge of the academic contests. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasna. Javiera, please.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you. My name is Javiera Sandoval, and I work along with Miriam and Jasna at the Office of the Arts and Culture.
Thank you. Alejandra. Through Martita. It's okay, Martita, can we listen to her?
Profesora, está silenciada. La voy a desilenciar yo.
Okay. My name is Alejandra Wendel.
Miriam, el problema es que no vamos a poder escuchar nosotros a la traductora porque tendríamos que tener habilitado. Entonces quizás tú puedes ir traduciendo a la profesora.
Ok.
Profesora puede presentarse en español, no hay problema.
Mi nombre es Alejandra Wendel y soy directora de la Escuela de Arte.
Alejandra Wendel is director of the School of Visual Arts at the Faculty of Art. Alexei, please. Thank you, Alejandra.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm Alexei Vergara. I'm the Dean of the Arts Faculty.
Thank you. Angel?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Angel. Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure are with us. And I'm a director of research in the Institute of Estética.
Thank you. Emily?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Emily Frey, and I'm a project manager in the Faculty of Arts, and I'm closely working with José Manuel Izquierdo.
Thank you, Emily. José Manuel?
Hi, Maryrose. I am José Manuel Izquierdo. I am Director of Research and Postgraduate Studies on the Faculty of Arts.
Thank you. Diego?
Hello, I am the research coordinator for the School of Music at the same faculty.
Thank you, Diego. Ana, please.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Ana Sedano, soy profesora de la Escuela de Teatro y actual coordinadora de investigación de la misma escuela.
Okay, Anna is a professor at the school of the drama school and coordinator of investigation, I think, at the same school. Gracias, Ana. Carolina.
Claro. Hola a todos, me voy a sacar 2 segundos la mascarilla. Yo soy Carolina Rebolledo, soy la gestora de investigación de la Facultad de Letras y me acompaña Rodrigo González, el coordinador académico de la facultad. Un gusto a todos.
Okay, Carolina Rebolledo and Rodrigo González are both from the Faculty of Letters, and she is, what is it?
Gestora de investigación.
Okay, she's research administrator, you could say manager or something, and Rodrigo is also what?
El coordinador académico del posgrado.
Oh, okay, academic coordinator. Thank you. And then we have Martita Brown, and she's a translator for Alejandra Wendel. Okay, so the microphone is all yours, Maryrose. Welcome to this meeting.
Well, thank you, Miriam, so much for this invitation. And it's such a pleasure to meet all of you across so many miles. UC is one of our more active members, so it's always a pleasure to, I've interfaced with many of you. And I too was at the Boston conference. So I am the executive director of the Alliance for the Arts and Research Universities. And I've been working here since 2016. Before that, I was at the National Endowment for the Arts, which is the federal funder for the arts here in the United States. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to present, and then I really look forward to having a conversation with all of you. I love talking about the arts and research, so I'm so happy there's so many research folks here today. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you all see it okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, here's a brief history of the Alliance. Let me just move this. Hold on. a2ru was founded in 2012 and has moved from defining best practice in arts integration to helping our institutional members case make for arts integration, for the arts, and for institutions to do it well. Here's the mission. We champion the arts as central and articulate how and why they should be central to research, practice, and scholarship in higher education. As an organization, we value the arts as core to higher education, deep disciplinary knowledge and applied research in the arts, interdisciplinary creativity, durable collaboration, diverse community, and the research university as a driver toward a better world. So this is our current network. And I show this to illustrate how connected knowledge and resource sharing between these institutions is our greatest strength. So our greatest strength is being a network. a2ru served on the 22-person committee for this report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, and the report was issued in 2018. It was in the top 5 downloads of the 200 reports issued that year. We have collaborated with the National Academies on dissemination of this report, holding more than 20 campus conversations on the importance of arts and humanities integration. We have really valued this partnership with the National Academies, and through these conversations, we are gathering perspectives on the developing state of integration. So you can see the calendar here and some of the tweets out of those 20 town halls. So this is something to keep in mind. This is a quote from the chair of the branch's report. And we know that arts integration happens on campus in very different ways. It depends on the campus. So we don't have a cookie cutter approach. So there's a lot of rhetoric to the central role of the arts in various degrees of follow-up. This slide shows the beginning of the summary of the arts at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, an extensive white paper on how embedded the arts are at that institution. But this attitude is shared by many leaders in higher education. The title of the position of Vice Provost of the Arts is becoming more common, for example. This trend it reflects a rising acknowledgement about how important the arts are for a holistic education. But there are a lot of challenges. So I will spend a little bit more time talking about these. So one of the challenges is definition. Arts integration doesn't have a single agreed upon definition. Language and culture, the disciplines in schools and different colleges have different systems of language, financial structures, methods of research protocols. Schools and colleges have different cultures, essentially. Perception, there's perception that the arts are not as rigorous as other disciplines sometimes. Instrumentalization, artists and humanists don't want their work to be used only as decoration or translation. They want to be at the table when the research questions are formed. The artists don't want their knowledge and insights added at the end. They want to be in on the research from the beginning. Shallow roots, since this work is not part of a siloed culture, it often has shallow roots, which can be threatened by leadership transitions. And geography, the STEM departments, the labs, the STEM departments, engineering, science, math, are actually geographically separate on campus from the performing arts centers, the studios, and rehearsal spaces. Funding discrepancies. Arts integration efforts are often under-resourced, and finally, lack of standards. Universities struggle with how to reach the threshold of providing a comprehensive interdisciplinary education, but there's no single way that is defined that's best to do it. We have different approaches. So this is the various levels at which the challenges to the arts integration are to be addressed. And how are these challenges being addressed? In a 2015 publication, a2ru identified these best practices that you see here: co-teaching and cross-listing of arts integrated courses, liberal interpretation of existing policies for promotion and tenure, centers and institutes established in shared spaces for arts integrated research and teaching, research including the arts as an equal partner from the onset, and partnerships between standalone art schools and research universities. And also the rise of design thinking, acknowledging a process or effort to address problems that include many perspectives from the get-go. So here are our strategic priorities and how we work in a2ru with the network. And here are some of our core programs. In the interest of time, I'm not going to read through all of them, but I will can present them as a handout afterwards. So these are the tenets of building a strong field for arts integration. And so far we have the knowledge base and the shared identity, but in the next few years, we'll work on turning our attention to funding and policy work and standards. So in these next slide, I'm just going to go through quickly. These are pictures from our annual meetings. This is the Boston conference that a UC team came to. We have symposia and communities of practice in the emerging area of arts and health. We share exemplars to the network. We have a student summit where students get experience on working on interdisciplinary cross-institutional teams. So here's some more students, pictures from our student summits. This one's at Stanford University, Virginia Commonwealth University. I want to mention that arts integration happens at different levels. This is an example of a grassroots or bottom-up faculty-initiated arts research studio. This is the Arts Integrated Faculty Studio at University of Alabama Birmingham. You can see the course description here. Leverage from the middle. This is the Arts Engine at the University of Michigan. It's a collective of 5 schools and colleges that do programming, curriculum, and grant programs to integrate the arts available to all students on campus, regardless of major. This is one example of a top-down effort. This is Arizona State University, where President Michael Crow has pulled professors out of departmental silos and established more than a dozen new transdisciplinary schools. Most universities do not take this wholesale restructuring approach, but what we see in the network is a mix of these top-down, leveraged from the middle, and bottom-up approaches for each campus community to best suit its needs. Here's an example at Penn State University, where they're looking at implementing transdisciplinarity at a curricular level. At this multi-campus institution, all the campuses share a general education common curriculum, so every student has to take these courses, and they include integrative thinking in that. This is an example of their general education offerings, so you can see they're organized around areas of knowledge instead of around disciplines, such as data meets design and forensic photography. So the findings from a series of the Mellon Project interviews that informed the best practices that I had mentioned earlier. So I've talked about that, but I'd like to next talk about how might we address the challenges better. Here's a few ways that a2ru helps the network address the challenges. And from a faculty perspective, we see that as a network, it's really good for faculty to see what is being done at other institutions, so you can adopt what looks good to you. This is an example of a partner profile on our website. And this is, again, the Student Summit. And this quote from President Schleichel acknowledges that problems don't choose a discipline, they are cross-disciplinary. This is our impacts research. You can find this all on our website. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but this map, for example, is available on our website, and you can see this is from interviews with 4,000 students about how exposure to the arts betters their education. So here's more of our research. Here you see a word cloud divided into arts and STEM. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math, mapping what respondents said when they were asked what they consider to be research. So we have on our website, we have workshops and a guidebook on how to help campuses meet the challenges and barriers. So I'm going to go through these quickly, but I have sent this guidebook and workbook to your campus. We also have the entire thing online. So campus teams use it to talk about how to better integrate the arts on campus. So you find connections with external trends. You find connections with arts integration at the overall strategic plan for your university, and this helps with that. And this is a plan to build arts integration strategy on your campus. I would also like to mention that we founded a Groundworks platform journal to fill the need to publish and incubate interdisciplinary arts integrated projects. So you'll see, if you look at groundworks.io on the internet, you can find a journal with all these projects in there. And you, your faculty and students are welcome to submit to this journal. This quote is from an engineering student and emerging creative alumni, and it shows her progression and her experience of integrating the arts into her research process. And this is the type of thing that can come from transdisciplinary exposure. So after she went to the Emerging Creatives Conference, she felt empowered to include the arts in her senior thesis. So one thing we ask ourselves and our partners is, what would a successful interdisciplinary, fully integrated university look like? So refining this message that interdisciplinarity is not of itself the goal, but rather what rises from the conditions it sets. This is Robert Rune Bernstein, a Michigan State University researcher who publishes, among other things, studies about the example and trends in Nobel laureates' high engagement in the arts. So he says integration occurs best through the building of conceptual or methodological bridges between disciplines. And this helps us solve problems. One thing we know that works is a neutral territory on campus where people can get together and collaborate. People can get together from different disciplines. This is an example at the University of Kansas called the Commons. They have a research series, an interdisciplinary research series called Red Hot Research. This is the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa. They have a collaborative arts research initiative. They have fellowships. They have incentivized research programs, and they form partnerships between the disciplines. This is more about Cary at Alabama. This is their fellows, and you can see the different disciplines there. So in conclusion, I can't ignore the larger picture needed to change these campus cultures. The experience of individual students or faculty going on in the background. You need national champions and a national shift in rhetoric and funding, which affects many populations. So we spend a lot of time talking to other national organizations who are working in the same space and coordinating with them, such as the national academies. So here are the benefits for A2RU network partners. These are all on our website. And again, I can provide this on a handout. And everyone at the university at UC can access all the benefits on our website by registering on the website and using your email address with the domain name. So this is the partner profile for UC at a2ru.org. And I'd love to see, I'll stop here and I'd love to see what questions you may have and if we can have a discussion.
Thank you, Maryrose. It looks pretty amazing. But the most important thing that I can gather of your presentation is the extremely diverse, the diversity in which each university faces a challenge. There is no recipe, of course, and there is not one way in order to face the challenge of integrating the arts into the university tissue, which is mainly constructed by STEAM disciplines. I don't want to take the microphone for myself, of course, but I do want to expose my main worry about, and the reason why I invited you to meet with us. And the approach that most of the times we see in order to integrate ourselves, we as artists or representatives of the arts in the university, is that we see the problem coming from outside. It's like if the outside or the others or these STEAM disciplines would be resistant to our integration. Mm-hmm. And I would say that my vision of the problem is exactly the opposite. I think that it's my perception. I don't want, maybe I'm wrong, here we are together in order to correct my vision. I love to change opinions about everything, but I am afraid that the responsibility of integrating arts into the core of the research and creation in the academy as general is also our responsibility. And in those terms, I don't see much I don't, I just want to open a discussion. Maybe I'm wrong, totally wrong. But I think that the main concern from my point of view is how to engage our people into this goal of integrating, of permeating the whole of the agenda or the whole of the discussion in the output, the university output as in general. Please, I'd like to offer the word to anybody who is ready to give us their concerns of opinions. Jose Manuel?
I think Alexei was first, so.
Oh,
No, go ahead, go ahead, go
I
ahead.
didn't see,
No,
I
no,
didn't see. I'm sorry, Alexei.
Okay. Yes, we face a rather, well, as you say, there's lots of challenges here, and we face quite a few of them. And one of them would be that what I tend to see is that most of our teachers don't really understand why they were originally hired to, to do disciplinary work and teaching, and now they have to explore into interdisciplinary research. That's a big question, and it's been really hard to convince people. And I don't think we're doing a very good work doing that, actually. And the other thing is that the origin of our schools, we have here theater, music, and visual arts, were created, and this is going to be, some people might get even offended when I say it, they were originally created as conservatories. And through the years, not many years ago, I would say 10 or 15, 20 years, we've had lots of pressure to become actually universities, research-based faculty. And that has also been quite difficult, and some still can't actually feel identified with this new meaning. So what have you seen? Do you have any examples, or maybe universities that are going through or have passed through the same experience?
Yes, absolutely. And the pull towards monodisciplinarity or single disciplinary research is indeed very strong. And as you say, people have been hired to do that.
Yeah.
And so one thing we're trying to do is come up with examples of arts integrated research, so we can help people to see what they look like. And I have a handout I'll send you on that. The other thing is to find champions, such as Dr. Robert Ruth Bernstein, who has found a strong correlation between Nobel laureateship and arts engagement and study in their careers. So there's more Nobel prizes awarded to people who have integrated the arts at some point in their career or do the arts. So you can't argue with that, right? And that's something we know. The other thing is to find champions. For example, the head of translational research, George Mashore, here at the University of Michigan, he has said in an interview with us that he uses his arts training more as a senior scientist than his scientific training. So you have powerful champions to kind of let people know it's okay to both do your single disciplinary work, but also spend some time in collaborative teams, which may not be as rewarding. It's not as good for your career necessarily in the short term, but it's better for society. So we have to also work on tenure and promotion policies, so people understand that it won't be detrimental to their career. They won't be wasting time. In this country, there is a huge push for collaborative team science. and one thing that is still behind is actually including the artists in those teams. But there is there's pressure, a lot of national funders want to see the collaborative research, not the single PI, but the shared PI. So that helps. So one thing as a network we want to talk to is the science funders, like the National Science Foundation, to make sure that they acknowledge artistic research and collaborative research in their guidelines. We're already seeing a lot of, so to your question about, I was hired to do a single discipline, why do you want me to collaborate? What's the payoff? What's the point? There's just so much research now that the collaborative research approaches and methodology is more successful. A metaphor I use is integrated medicine. Does that resonate? So the patient goes to a team of physicians from different fields to be treated, right? So they're not going to this type of disciplinary specialist, say a pulmonary specialist, and then going home and then going to the cardiologist and then going to the psychologist. When the patient comes, they're talking to a whole table of different types of doctors. So they can confer with one another to actually heal and get to the bottom of the diagnosis and the prognosis for the patient. So that's a metaphor we use of integrated medicine so you use that for solving societal problems. You need the humanist, you need the scientist, you need the mathematician, you need the engineer. They need to be collaborating to fully solve a problem. So, I mean, you all know that, but if the funders are starting to really write their guidelines to encourage this, then we will be able to convince individual faculty that, and another thing is you have to acknowledge and respect the single disciplinary endeavors. We are not saying that those aren't, because transdisciplinarity is predicated or built on single disciplinary work. So if each of these people couldn't bring their deep expertise, they wouldn't be as effective when they start working in teams. So all we're saying is there has to be a balance. You have to do both. You should be able to do both in your career. So a2ru is working with the young students, with the emerging creatives, so they have exposure to working both within their own discipline and transdisciplinarity. So later in their career, they're able to pull on whichever is most effective for what they're trying to do at that moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jose Manuel, I don't know if it was my initiative to call you or you also wanted to add something.
I think it was your initiative, but I could, since you called me, I could mention something. No, thank you, Maryrose. I think it's really interesting. And it's also been really interesting to see the entire document of the case for arts integration. And I wanted to ask you something about that, because it has been, I really like the idea of champions and role models, and I think we can go more into that. I think we haven't done that. So I think that's a very good suggestion for us. And also this idea, following your idea that this is not a cookie cutter model at the end, that we need to try something that is integral and organic for our university and our faculties. I think my main question would be, you spoke about different cases of sort of bottom up and top down projects and how those worked, but as well as in the document in sort of finished ways, so successful cases that we can know that are already successful, and that's the reason you're showing. Like, if you could maybe mention some that maybe at their initial stage were a bit like us, or maybe they didn't work, or maybe, you know, how can we learn about those, the challenges of doing those first steps and not only having the model of the already successful case?
Yeah, each of those started out as not successful. Arts Engine, for example, the leverage from the middle, it's been around for 15 years now, I think. And it has never, it's always had to fight for its own funding. And it has been confined to only North Campus here at the University of Michigan. So it has steady support, but it hasn't been able to scale up and grow. But it has over the years done tons of adjustments to calibrate to be the best fit for its particular campus. And the folks at CARI, the Collaborative Arts Research Initiative at the University of Alabama, they've had similar challenges, but what they did to that research institute in that center actually started since a2ru started. So the way they put it together was they interviewed Arts Engine people, Arizona State University people, and they took the pieces of all the other different programs and created their own that was best for their campus. So one thing that might be good is to set up meetings with each of these people that have stood up these interdisciplinary centers, and you ask them, what should we avoid doing? What can we learn from what you did? And so the CARI program at the University of Alabama, I think, was only set up 4 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. And they're very pleased with how that's working for their campus. Those CARI fellows have been leveraging, have used their partnerships to get external funding, research funding. And that's how we know it's successful. And they're very happy with it. The faculty enjoy collaborating. So I think instead of saying, so I think it'd be really good to talk to them because they're so new. Like, how did you start from zero doing this? Although I must say that the seed funding came from their provost. And then that provost has retired, but the institute is still there. So they managed to move from the seed funding from the provost and convince the new leadership to keep them going, to fund them. And that wasn't a sure thing. When the provost was leaving, they were like, that might be the end of the institute. But I think since they were able to write grants and get some national funding here and there, or state level funding, they said, you can stay. That's good, keep doing what you're doing. So another thing that I can do is meet with a group of you, and we do a protocol, an interview protocol against the best practices. And we have a conversation like, how are you doing with institutes and centers? How are you doing with tenure and promotion? How are you doing with research? And then I write a baseline report, knowing what I know from other institutions. And I give a series of recommendations for you to act on or not act on. It's up to you. And then we have a conversation about my report. And then you can formulate a strategy. So that's what I've been doing with campuses, and I can do with your campus if you want. That's one approach. The other is the workbook you noticed and the case book. And that helps you, that just kickstarts conversations. And then you, as a group, you start saying, well, you know what, there's a premier scientist on campus that actually talks about the arts and references the arts or whatever. So you can start finding your champions. And it's really important to have neutral spaces. You have to start out, you can't start out with guidelines and here's a plan. You have to start out with socially getting together in a neutral, common space. And what they do at the University of Kansas is they have that Red Hot research series where people from all different schools and colleges, they share a new research project. It's not done, it's something they're thinking of doing. So people can listen to it and say, oh, that's interesting, I learned something. Or they can say, I actually have something to contribute. That reminds me of something I'm working on. Perhaps we could collaborate. So they just go through and do like 5-10 minute presentations. They listen to each other. Sometimes it leads to nothing, but at least they're aware of the research that's going on in different schools and colleges, and they can start a conversation. And none of it has to do with like something that's due, that's grant funded. None of it is funded yet. None of it has started yet. but it's just ideas and passions and things they want to work on. And then they can find collaborators.
Thank you, Maryrose. One of the things that I want to mention now is, and we were talking about it with Jose Manuel yesterday or a couple of days ago, that faculty doesn't get any 1/2 point extra when they do for their promotions, when they do interdisciplinary work, which is surely the most difficult thing to do. And I think that that is something that we have to engage all faculties, not only the Faculty of Art, not only the Dean of the Faculty of Arts, to come with, to build, you know. I think it's the entire university that has to move into that strategy. I don't know how they do it. In the university, they have a lot of centers, interdisciplinary centers. They are very well provided by, with national funds, especially, of course, in the sciences, but also in technologies and also humanities. And but I don't know if they get more points or they get better promotions or very better chances for promotion, or any kind of reward when they do interdisciplinary work in their own fields, right? Like the one you mentioned about, you know, medicine, for instance. I don't know, Alexei, what do you think? Are they better off when they do interdisciplinary work? In the engineers, for instance, somebody is talking about the, okay, go ahead, Carolina. Okay, thank you for coming. What do you think? Are the arts in the university in a worse position in those terms?
I don't really know. It all depends on the grants you get, on the budgets you get, where you get it from, and it also depends on how you are being assessed in your different faculties. But what we know is there's two things we know. You know, we've had quite a few of our teachers work with engineers or mathematicians, and they are very keen to work with us, but it's not their main priority because they don't actually get very good points working with arts, with the arts, because all they need is to publish. And sometimes what we do is not publishable. I don't know how to say it in English. It's publishable. And it takes a longer time, and it gets them out of their main research. So that's one thing we know.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that actually nobody gets more points, as you say, for doing interdisciplinary work. I don't think. But we have. But I was going to say something else. We even have a difficulty working amongst ourselves. I mean, you know, having the musicians to work with the visual arts people, I've never ever seen that here, because we don't even get to do that. And if we get to do that, I would give them all the points in the world in their assessments, but I don't even know if there's a little bit of interest in many of our teachers. So I think we're in such a basic stage that first, I don't know if that's what we have to do first, but that's one of the things that we still have to do. And the other thing, well, you know that, Miriam, you were in charge of a contest here, interdisciplinary work, and it didn't have many applicants as we expected. So I think that we have to, you know, ask those questions first. What's going on in the house? And then go to the science and other faculties.
What experience do you have, Maryrose? What have you seen in analogous to this stage, at what we are, and what Alexei describes in the universities that you are more acquainted with?
Well, I think, you do start out with the external pressure of if there's funders that are looking for these types of integrated projects. For example, I know that community engaged research is now starting to have extra points in tenure and promotion in a lot of US colleges and universities, but not arts integrated research yet. So we're still working on that. But the National Science Foundation, for example, has the broader impacts category. So it incentivizes research for societal good. So it kind of forces, if you want to be funded in that category, you have to find partners, and you have to add someone to the team, either from the arts or who works with communities. So that trickles down from that funder to T&P guidelines, to what the faculty are interested in researching, because there's the money there for that. So I would say, what external grants do you have that are available to your faculty that incentivize these things? And I think that, would get the attention of, but it's still hard. Like when we did the town halls with the national academies, we would attract the STEM faculty because we have the national academies there. There's the huge award of becoming a fellow with the national academies. And so that had a lot of cliche, that had a lot of power behind it. In the arts, we don't have these type of awards that faculty can use towards tenure and promotion. And that's why we created the Groundworks Journal. So at least these interdisciplinary projects had somewhere to be published. So we have far to go in that regard, but Leonardo here in the US, housed at Arizona State University, and Groundworks are two places that recognize interdisciplinary collaboration. In fact, you can't be published in them without doing that. So we need more journals and more funding opportunities for these interdisciplinary teams to work together. But, when you design a strategy for your campus, at some point, someone's going to have to convince an administrator that seeding this work and showing it as a priority for your university to help the community in which you are situated is a priority, and it is going to be at least funded internally to eventually leverage external funding.
Yes, we are working on that. I mean, we have funds, and those funds are the ones that we at the office that I direct, we distribute funds. We have funds for up to $7,500 per fund, which is quite okay, I would say, for one-year projects. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to mention that the Vice President for Research wants to champion the National Office for Science. He hopes to be able to champion the case of the arts integrated to the rest of the disciplines. And one of the things that we should ask him to do is to promote the need for including the arts in every major project as is issued or published or by this National Office for Science. That's one of the things that Pedro wants to do. So we have to help him to find the mechanisms to do it. You could help us, Maryrose, in that extent. Mm-hmm. Maybe putting us in contact with some of the people that we're able to turn, to curb, because these happened once, I don't know how many years ago. Maybe you can still find the person that did that at the National Funds for Research in Science in America. So that would set a good example, and it would do case study for our Vice President for Research. And he has promised to champion that, which is also a good way to start. Maybe that's top down, yes, but our problem is bottom up.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And there's one thing that I wanted to ask you too. Do you think groundworks is going to be in the index of what do they call it? The what is it? Yes, indexed magazines. Someone can help me. How do you call that? The index?
Journals.
Yes. What?
Journals, not
Yes, the journals, sorry.
Yeah, so we're working on getting a DOI identity for it, so it will be indexed, yes.
Okay, and it would be nice to know if there are more journals like Groundworks nowadays, right?
Well,
because that's the other problem.
People
People can't publish an interdisciplinary work into a disciplinary journal.
Right.
So.
Right, and also, STEM faculty who do it, it is like they do it on their own time, because it doesn't, fit into the enterprise of their school, but like that's the culture we're trying to change. And also, when people do work that doesn't fit into a particular discipline, the team has to just talk about like, okay, so which discipline is most likely to publish this? What's the majority here? But there are precedents and it is becoming more popular. But yeah, I can send you a list of journals that do publish interdisciplinary work. But you're right, the issue is getting people out of their silos and to understand the benefit of it and connecting with a larger university across those silos to actually do that work, much less publish it.
We were talking with Jose Manuel, and we decided to issue a new program which is called Ideas al Almuerzo, Ideas at Lunchtime. And we're going to give very small amount of money to teams, enough money to have 2 lunches, just to talk, just to get to, the only thing that we will ask in return is just small reports of no more than 500 words, just to see if there is something, it's like if ideas did make love at that lunchtime, and they have 2 chances, 2 lunches. We'll see if I can get that fund and I can get that program passed. It's almost an hour. I would suggest that we make some commitment, you and we, us. First of all, one of the things would be that we get to know the people, or we get to know who the people are who championed the case of the arts at the National Fund for Science, right? Which is what the Vice President wants to do here in Chile. And I didn't have time to give the word to other people. I'm so sorry. Maybe next time we'll have more luck in that respect. But we really want to keep on talking to you, to see other people's experiences, especially how to work in convincing faculty of the benefit of doing interdisciplinary work.
So I just have a quick question. If you have, do you have faculty co-teach across disciplines commonly? Is there any MOU or mechanism?
I don't think so.
Because sometimes that's a strategy too. I mean, it can be difficult, but it often leads to collaborative research. And of course, it's very good for the students because then they can see how the research can map across, or the concepts in the two different disciplines and the vocabulary can be mapped to one another.
We've had it with really very bad experiences, horrible, so much so that we had to take it out of the curricula yeah. But that was years ago, and now we are doing it. It's working well. Jose Manuel can say it in some of our graduate classes. Would you say it's working, Jose Manuel? Some of the experiences are.
I think it works. Yeah, I think the experience in the faculty, which is 20 years old, is that it didn't work very well in undergraduate programs. Maybe it is related to what Alexei mentioned before, that a lot of the faculty, the teachers are very focused on the disciplinary work, and still the undergraduate teaching is very disciplinary focused. But at the graduate level and the master's and PhD programs, we have been able to do a lot more of interdisciplinary work and courses, and I think a lot of the students are willing to go into that. It's like, okay, we already have that disciplinary background, and now we can try and do this. So it has been very successful. And I think in this idea of sort of bottom-up opportunities, I think maybe something we can try is doing that a lot more, and that collaborative work from the graduate studies to bring it somewhere else and try to do more stuff from there. But yeah, I think it works at that level.
Okay.
And also we are beginning to implement it within the framework of continuing education, like transdisciplinary class.
Yeah. We're doing that now. We started to do some classes for people that are from the outside of the university, and that's working quite well as well.
Yeah, and like I said, if you would identify that as a need or a weak spot or whatever, I'd be happy to set up interviews with people. Like I just put a link in the chat to a faculty team who teach across disciplines very well. So, you could either look into how they do it or talk to them. I'd be happy to, like I said, I'd be happy to do the interview protocol to let you identify where you'd like to work on. We could do that as the next step, and I could do that baseline report.
Great. I think Susanna wanted to say something.
Yes, Susanna.
Yes, first, I apologize very much for arriving so late. I think there's a question, maybe you talked about that before, but and is how at the level that we are in the university, with funds, we have a structure that is stimulating interdiscipline and arts and science. How do you provoke or make the conditions for researchers that become interdisciplinary researchers that start as circumstantial experiences? No? We get together with engineering and with design and we do one project, right? And that, for our expertise, is something that begins as something unique, circumstantial. It's not part of your track. How do you build a ground that on time it may enable, because you cannot control that, but it may enable or make or put on value to bring that into a new line of work, right? Because I think when this is beginning, there is the difficulty that you may be 4 years in a project, bring something, have some results, but the interdisciplinary relationship could become just circumstantial, circunscrito to that research. So what conditions may help for something that is particular or circumstantial to become a line of work in terms of interdisciplinary perspective. And I see, for example, there's one project going on now on video games, right? There's a program that is being designed on video games with many departments, and it's very kind of not yet ready, right? But those people from different engineering, art, sciences, and everything, they're already starting to think of applying for a research, okay? Even though this is about undergraduate teaching. And okay, so those are very interested in the same thing, right? So they're going to build up, taking this to a new level, right? Because they are gathered around an interest that comes from before. I don't know, that became a bit confusing, but how do you come from one level to a projection? No, what makes that possible or relevant for me to say, let's go again in this line of work, and I'm not going back for now in my line of work?
So I think this is unprecedented for a lot of folks, you know, to take that leap to work in, you know, I've just put a webinar in the chat about navigating towards an interdisciplinary career. And it's 5 case studies of people who have been flexible enough and nimble enough in their careers to be able to work in an interdisciplinary manner, no matter what they are doing in their career, and academic career and professional career. So that's not a complete answer to your question, but it is unprecedented for a lot of people. And some people are more prone to do it because they just go wherever their research problems take them. And they're not hesitant to dabble in different disciplines, even though they're not an expert. But they have to have the confidence to do it, and they have to have the permission to do it. So anyway, these are really good narratives from these people who work, you know, between dance and medicine, and they really just work anywhere. They always draw on their disciplinary foundation, but they start doing a career that is nowhere near where they started. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's something we talk a lot about in our network. And, you know, I'm finding the younger the faculty and researchers are, the more flexible they are because they're coming up in an environment that is more, it's more urgent to be able to do transdisciplinary work than single disciplinary work, because we see, like we see with COVID and systemic racism, especially in this country, we know that it's not adequate the way we currently do research. Again, going back to my metaphor of integrated medicine, it's not going to solve problems if you just draw on one discipline.
Well, Alexei, did you want to say something?
Just a little thing, but since we're ending this, we're finishing, we would appreciate a lot, Maryrose, if you could actually, you know, guide us and take your offer of guiding a conversation with us, and that could serve as an example. So we would like to keep contact with you if that's not a problem with you.
That's what I'm here for, and I love talking to, because whenever I help individual campuses think about this, it helps my research.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. Okay, yeah. It's a win-win situation. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Great.
I want to thank you, Maryrose, for your time, your effort. It's wonderful for us to talk to you. I think it's a great format, you know, this being just 12 people in the screen and being able to out loud our problems and talk about them. as opposed to having a congress or a conversation or something which is less intimate and less maybe more centered in the person but not in the problem. Your berries are typical. Yeah, I'm sure they are. I think so. I think that we are all so much alike. It's funny. We're so human. Thank you all. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that we can meet again. I will keep in touch with you, Maryrose, and if anyone in this room wants to rise up any particular issue for next conversation, we will try to organize another meeting with the issues that were not touched in this conversation, and let's profit from you, Maryrose.
Great, that's what I'm here for. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody here. I hope Alejandra, pudiste entenderlo todo. ¿Cómo te fue con Martita? Haznos así con el dedo, si es que está bien. Thank you, Martita, and thank you all for this very, very good meeting for us. Thank you, Maryrose.
Thank you all so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Gracias.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Ok. Está Martita. ¿Puedes abrir el micrófono?